Mahirap ba ako? O hindi? Ano ang ibig sabihin ng pagiging mahirap sa Pilipinas? Sino nga ba ang maituturing na mahirap? Ayon sa Republic Act 8425 or Social Reform and Poverty Alleviation Act, maituturing na mahirap ang isang individual o pamilya kung ang kanilang kabuuang kita ay mas mababa sa isang sukatan o poverty threshold na ipinatalaga ng gobyerno. Ang threshold ang pamantayan ng pagsukat ng bilang ng mahihirap. May dalawang klase ng threshold sa pagtukoy ng mahihirap. Una, ang food threshold na tumutukoy sa minimum na kita o kinakailangang halaga ng isang individual o pamilya upang matugunan ang mga pangunahing pangangailangan sa pagkain o basic food requirements. Ikalawa, ang poverty threshold na minimum na kita na kailangan ng isang individual o pamilya upang matugunan ang mga pangunahing pangangailangan sa pagkain at iba pang mga pangunahing pangangailangan katulad ng pang-edukasyon, pangkalusugan, tirahan, ilaw at tubig, damit at sapin sa paa at iba pa. Paano nako-compute ang bilang ng mahihirap? Una, pagkalap ng mga kinakailangan datos katulad ng kita ng pamilya, food bundle at presyo ng pangunahing pagkain. Ang food bundle ay set na mga pagkain sa bawat probinsya na nakabatay sa isang National Reference Food Bundle ay dinisenyo ng Food and Nutrition Research Institute o FNRI. Ito ay binubuo ng mga pagkain na pinakamurang nabibili at kinakain sa lalawigan at tumutugon sa 100% na pangangailangan sa enerhiya at protina at 80% para sa iba pang mga nutrisyon. Ang bawat pagkain sa food bundle ay nilalagyan ng katumbas na halaga gamit ang mga datos sa presyo na kinakalap ng PSA bawat buwan. Ang kita ng pamilya ay nanggagaling sa resulta ng Family Income and Expenditure Survey o FIES. Ito ay isang sample survey na isinasagawa ng PSA kada 3 taon na naglalayong makapagbigay ng impormasyon sa kita at gastos ng pamilya. Ikalawa, ang pag-compute ng halaga ng food threshold. Ang bawat panlalawikong food bundle ay nakabase sa isang national reference na food bundle na may almusal, tanghalian, hapunan at merienda. Tinitiyak na ang food bundle ay binubuo ng mga pagkain may pinakamababang halaga at kinakain sa lalawigan. Ang bawat food bundle ay dapat na merong energy, protein, calcium, iron, vitamin A, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin at vitamin C. Halimbawa ng food bundle sa Metro Manila na nakabase sa National Reference Food Bundle, ang almusal ay binubuo ng scrambled egg, kanin at kape na may gatas. Sa tanghalian, mayroon namang nilagang munggo na may dilis at malunggay, kanin at saging na lutundan. Samantalang sa hapunan naman ay pritong tulingan, kanin at nilagang angkong at may meriendang pandesal. Una, ang food threshold na tumutukoy sa minimum na kita o kinakailangang halaga ng isang individual o pamilya upang matugunan ang mga pangunahing pangangailangan sa pagkain o basic food requirements. Ikalawa, ang poverty threshold na minimum na kita na kailangan ng isang individual o pamilya upang matugunan ang mga pangunahing pangangailangan sa pagkain at iba pang mga pangunahing pangangailangan katulad ng pang-edukasyon, pangkalusugan, tirahan, ilaw at tubig, damit at sapin sa paa at iba pa. Paano nako-compute ang bilang ng mahihirap? Una, pagkalap ng mga kinakailangan datos katulad ng kita ng pamilya, food bundle at presyo ng pangunahing pagkain. Ang food bundle ay set na mga pagkain sa bawat probinsya na nakabatay sa isang National Reference Food Bundle ay dinisenyo ng Food and Nutrition Research Institute o FNRI. Ito ay binubuo ng mga pagkain na pinakamurang nabibili at kinakain sa lalawigan at tumutugon sa 100% na pangangailangan sa enerhiya at protina at 80% para sa iba pang mga nutrisyon. Ang bawat pagkain sa food bundle ay nilalagyan ng katumbas na halaga gamit ang mga datos sa presyo na kinakalap ng PSA bawat buwan. Ang kita ng pamilya ay nanggagaling sa resulta ng Family Income and Expenditure Survey o FIES. Ito ay isang sample survey na isinasagawa ng PSA kada 3 taon na naglalayong makapagbigay ng impormasyon sa kita at gastos ng pamilya. Ikalawa, ang pag-compute ng halaga ng food threshold. Ang bawat panlalawikang food bundle ay nakabase sa isang national reference na food bundle na may almusal, tanghalian, hapunan at merienda. Tinitiyak na ang food bundle ay binubuo ng mga pagkain may pinakamababang halaga at kinakain sa lalawigan. Ang bawat food bundle ay dapat na merong energy, protein, calcium, iron, vitamin A, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin at vitamin C. Halimbawa ng food bundle sa Metro Manila na nakabase sa National Reference Food Bundle, ang almusal ay binubuo ng scrambled egg, kanin at kape na may gatas. Sa tanghalian, mayroon namang nilagang munggo na may dilis at malunggay, kanin at saging na lutundan. Samantalang sa hapunan naman ay pritong tulingan, kanin at nilagang kangkong at may meriendang pandesal. Ikatlo, ang pag-compute ng poverty threshold. Bahagi ng pag-compute nito ay ang pagkuha ng non-food component. Ito ay sa pamamagitan ng pagtingin sa consumption pattern ng mga pamilyang malapit sa food threshold. Ito ay didirektang pag-compute na ginagawa di lamang ng Pilipinas kundi maging ibang bansa. Ito rin ay tinatawag na food expenditure over total basic expenditure, ratio na may average na 0.6983 mula sa resulta ng FIES noong 2000, 2003, 2006 at 2009. Ang poverty threshold ay makukuha sa pagdi-divide ng food threshold sa FETBE ratio. Panghuli, ang pagbilang sa mga individual o pamilya na may kita na bababa sa mga thresholds. Kapag mas mababa sa food threshold, sila ay maisasama sa bilang ng food poor o walang kakayahan para makabili ng basic food needs. Samantalang, kapag mas mababa sa poverty threshold, sila ay maisasama sa bilang ng poor o walang kakayahan para makabili ng basic food at non-food na pangangailangan. Tandaan, ang pag-alam ng konsepto ng datos ay nakatutulong upang tama ang paggamit at interpretasyon sa datos, upang tama ang maiuulat at upang tama ang programa at polisiya.
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Welcome to the press conference of the Philippine Statistics Authority para sa 2021 Full Year Official Poverty Statistics of the Philippines, ngayong ika-15 ng Agosto, taong 2022. Ako po si Ange Aicardo, ang inyong host para sa press briefing na ito. Ang event na ito ay naka-livestream po sa PSA Facebook page at ang mga updates naman ay tweeted sa PSA Twitter account gamit ang hashtag PHPoverty2021. Ikinararangal ko pong ipakilala ang ating mga resource persons para sa press conference ng 2021 Full Year Official Poverty Statistics of the Philippines. Si Secretary Dr. Arsenio M. Balisacan ng National Economic and Development Authority at si National Statistician and Civil Registrar General Undersecretary Dr. Dennis S. Mapa ng Philippine Statistics Authority. Nais din po naming kilalanin ang presensya ng iba pang mga opisyal ng NEDA at PSA na kasama po natin ngayon. Mula sa NEDA, kasama po natin si Undersecretary Rosemary G. Edelion, Undersecretary Melbourne D. Pana, OIC Undersecretary Carlos Bernardo O. Abad Santos, Assistant Secretary Jonathan L. Uy, Assistant Secretary Greg L. Pineda, and OIC Assistant Secretary Florente Egtiben. Mula naman po sa PSA, kasama natin ngayon si OIC Deputy National Statistician ng Sectoral Statistics Office, si Dr. Divina Gracia L. Del Prado. Kasama rin po natin si Assistant National Statistician for the Social Sector Statistics Service, si Ms. Wilma A. Guillen. Ngayon, atin pong pakinggan ang ulat ni PSA Undersecretary Dennis S. Mapa.
Magandang umaga sa ating lahat. Ang Philippine Statistics Authority ay mag-uulat ng poverty statistics para sa buong taon ng 2021 base sa nakalap na impormasyon mula sa 2021 Family Income and Expenditure Survey. Ang Family Income and Expenditure Survey or FIES ay isang nationwide survey na ginagawa ng Philippine Statistics Authority para makakuha ng impormasyon tungkol sa karaniwang kinikita at gastusin ng pamilyang Pilipino. Bago ang 2021, ito ay huling ginawa noong 2018. Ang reference period ng FIES ay mula Enero hanggang Disyembre ng taong 2021. Ang mga datos sa unang 6 na buwan o first semester ng 2021 ay kinalap sa loob ng 21 araw mula ika-8 hanggang huling araw ng Hulyo noong nakarang taon. Para naman sa ikalawang bahagi ng 2021 o second semester, ang mga datos ay kinalap sa loob ng 19 na araw mula ika-10 hanggang huling araw ng Enero ng taong kasalukuyang 2022. Ang domain ng FIES ay national, regional, provincial at highly urbanized city. Ibig sabihin, sa pangkalatan, sapat ang sample para makakuha ng reasonable estimates sa national, regional, provincial at highly urbanized city level. Ang bilang ng na-survey noong Hulyo 2021 at gayon din noong Enero 2022 ay 165,029 na pamilya. Humigit kumulang sa 7,000 data collectors ang nag-survey noong Hulyo 2021 at noong Enero 2022. Ang poverty incidence among families o ang bahagdan ng pamilya na ang kinikita ay hindi sasapat upang matugunan ang kanilang basic food and non-food needs noong taong 2021 ay naitala sa 13.2%. Samantala, noong 2018, ito ay nasa 12.1% lamang. Ang bilang ng mahihirap na pamilya noong 2021 ay nasa 3.5 million. Tumaas ito kung ikukumpara noong 2018 na nasa 3 million na mahihirap na pamilya. Ang poverty incidence among population noong 2021 ay naitala sa 18.1%. Mas mataas ito kumpara noong 2018 na tinatayang nasa 16.7%. Noong 2021, umabot sa 19.99 million ang bilang ng mahihirap na Pilipino. Samantala, noong 2018, ito ay naitala sa 17.67 million. Ang subsistence incidence among families o ang bagdan ng pamilya na ang kinikita ay di sapat upang matugunan ang kanilang basic food needs noong taon 2021 ay naitala sa 3.9%. Ito ay mas mataas kumpara sa naitala noong 2018 na nasa 3.4%. Para naman sa bilang ng food poor families, umabot ito sa 1.04 milyong pamilya noong 2021. Ang katumbas na bilang noong 2018 ay nasa 840,000. Noong 2021, ang subsistence incidence among population ay nasa 5.9%. Ito ay mas mataas ng 0.7 percentage point kaysa sa naitala noong 2018 na 5.2%. Nakapagtala ng 6.55 milyong Pilipino na food poor noong 2021. Samantala, noong 2018 ang bilang ng food poor population ay nasa 5.54 milyong Pilipino. Sa 17 riyon ng bansa, ang National Capital Region ang nakapagtala ng pinakamababang poverty incidence among families noong 2021 na nasa 2.2%. Samantala, ang BARM ang may pinakamataas na poverty incidence among families na nasa 29.8%. Kung ikukumpara ang poverty incidence ng mga riyon, 10 riyon ang nakapagtala ng mas mataas sa 13.2% na national poverty incidence. Ito ay ang mga riyon mula Mimaropa hanggang BARM, maliban sa Region 11 o Davao Region na may 11.9%. Sa 17 riyon, ang Region 7 ang nakapagtala ng may pinakamataas na poverty incidence mula 2018 hanggang 2021. Pagdating naman sa poverty incidence among population noong 2021, ang National Capital Region pa rin ang may pinakamababang porsyento na nasa 3.5%. Samantala, ang BARM ang may pinakamataas na poverty incidence among population, ito ay naitala sa 37.2%. Katulad ng poverty incidence among families, 10 riyon ang nakapagtala ng mas mataas na poverty incidence among population kumpara sa 18.1% sa national. Ito ay ang mga riyon mula Mimaropa hanggang BARM, maliban sa Region 11 o Davao Region. Katulad din ng poverty incidence among families, ang Region 7 pa din ang nakapagtala ng may pinakamalaking pagtaas mula 2018 hanggang 2021. Noong 2021, ang National Capital Region ang nakapagtala ng may pinakamababang subsistence incidence among families na nasa 0.3%. At ang Caraga Region naman ang nakapagtala ng 9.0% na siya namang pinakamataas na subsistence incidence among families. Sa 17 riyon ng bansa, ang mga riyon mula Mimaropa hanggang BARM ang nakapagtala ng mas mataas na subsistence incidence kumpara sa national level na naitala sa 3.9% maliban sa Region 6 at Region 11. Pagdating sa subsistence incidence among population, ang National Capital Region pa rin ang may pinakamababang porsyento ng antas na nasa 0.5%. Samantala, ang Caraga Region naman ang may pinakamataas na subsistence incidence among population sa antas na 12.8%. Katulad ng subsistence incidence among families, ang mga riyon mula Mimaropa hanggang BARM, maliban sa Region 6 at Region 11 ay may mas mataas na subsistence incidence among population noong 2021 kumpara sa 5.9% na national poverty incidence. Ang mga riyon din na may significant na pagtaas ay ang mga sumusunod: Regions 1, 3, 4A, Mimaropa, 5, 6, 7, Region 10 at Caraga Region. Katulad ng mga nagdaang pag-uulat, aming grinupo o cluster ang mga probinsya sa 5 pangkat. Ito ay batay sa porsyento ng mahirap na pamilya na naitala sa probinsya. Ang Cluster 1 ay tumutukoy sa poorest cluster o kinabibilangan ng mga probinsya na may pinakamataas na porsyento ng mahirap na pamilya, habang ang Cluster 5 ay tumutukoy sa least poor cluster o kinabibilangan ng mga probinsya na may pinakamababang porsyento ng mahirap na pamilya. Noong 2021, 6 na probinsya ang napabilang sa poorest cluster. Kabilang dito ang probinsya ng Basilan at Sulu na nananatiling nasa pinakamahirap na cluster noong 2018 at ngayong 2021. Ang Agusan del Sur, Davao Occidental, Sarangani at Zamboanga del Norte ang tinatawag na new entrants sa poorest cluster. Sa usapin naman ng least poor cluster o Cluster 5, kinabibilangan nito ng 24 na probinsya at 4 na distrito ng National Capital Region noong 2021. Ang 10 probinsya na may highlight na dilaw ay ang 10 probinsyang bagong pasok sa Cluster 5. Ito ay ang Apayao, Batangas, Cagayan, Davao del Norte, Davao del Sur, Ifugao, Kalinga, Lanao del Sur, Palawan at Quirino Province. Ang mga mapa na ito ay nagpapakita ng clustering ng mga probinsya base sa poverty incidence among families. Ang mga kulay pula at orange ay tumutukoy sa poorest clusters o clusters 1 and 2. Samantala, ang mga berde naman ay nasa least poor clusters o cluster 4 and 5. Mapapansin na dumami ang mga probinsya na naging pula at orange noong 2021 kumpara noong 2018. Dahil sa large sample ng Family Income and Expenditure Survey, nakapag-generate ng reliable statistics hanggang sa provincial at highly urbanized city level. Mapapansin na ang highly urbanized city ay may mabababang poverty incidence among families kumpara sa mga probinsya. Sa 33 highly urbanized cities, ang Zamboanga City ang nakapagdala ng significant na pagbaba ng poverty incidence among families mula sa 6.5% noong 2018, ito ay naging 3.3% nitong 2021. Sa mga highly urbanized cities sa National Capital Region, ang mga syudad ng Malabon, Valenzuela, Las Piñas, Makati, Muntinlupa, Parañaque at Taguig ay nakapagtala ng significant na pagtaas ng poverty incidence among families mula sa taong 2018 hanggang 2021. Samantala, sa mga highly urbanized cities sa labas ng National Capital Region, ang mga syudad ng Lapu-Lapu City at Butuan City ang nagtala ng may pinakamataas na poverty incidence among families. On the average, the poverty threshold noong 2021 ay tinatayang humigit kumulang sa 12,030 pesos para sa pamilyang may 5 miyembro para matustusan ang basic food and non-food needs sa isang buwan. Ito ay mas mataas ng 11.8% sa poverty threshold noong 2018 na may halagang 10,756 pesos. Ang National Capital Region ang may pinakamataas na poverty threshold noong 2021 sa halagang 13,741 pesos on the average kada buwan para sa isang pamilya na may 5 miyembro. At ang Mimaropa Region ang may pinakamababang poverty threshold na nasa halagang 10,967 pesos. Kung ikukumpara ang poverty threshold sa mga reyon, ang mga reyon ng National Capital Region, Region 1, Region 3, Region 4A at Region 7 ay nakapagtala ng mas mataas sa 12,030 pesos per month na national poverty threshold. Para naman sa food threshold, ang pamilyang may 5 miyembro ay nangangailangan ng 8,379 pesos on the average para matustusan ang kanilang basic food needs sa loob ng isang buwan. Ito ay mas mataas ng 10.9% sa naitalang food threshold noong 2018 na may halagang 7,553 pesos. Ang National Capital Region pa rin ang may pinakamataas na food threshold para sa taong 2021 na may halagang 9,595 pesos on the average kada buwan para sa isang pamilyang may 5 miyembro at ang Region 12 ang may pinakamababang food threshold na nasa 7,695 pesos. Kung ikukumpara ang food threshold ng mga reyon, ang National Capital Region, Region 1, Region 3, Region 4A, Region 7, Region 9 at Region 10 ang mga reyon na may mas mataas sa 8,379 na national food threshold per month. Mapapansin ang pagtaas ng kita nitong taong 2018 hanggang 2021 ay naitala sa 3.8%. ay mas mabagal kumpara sa pagtaas ng kita noong 2015 to 2018 na nasa 20.9%. Kung susuriin natin ang pagtaas ng per capita income mula sa first decile hanggang 10th decile, mapapansin na mas mabagal ito kumpara sa pagtaas ng poverty threshold na nasa 11.8%. Hindi ito katulad noong 2015 to 2018 na mas mabilis ang pagtaas ng income lalo na mula first hanggang third decile kumpara sa 13.5% increase sa poverty threshold sa parehong taon. Dahil dito, mapapansin na bumaba ang poverty incidence mula 2015 to 2018 ng 5.9 percentage points. Samantala, tumaas naman ang poverty incidence ng 1.1 percentage points mula 12.1% noong 2018 hanggang 13.2% nitong 2021. Dito nagtatapos ang aming pag-uulat ng 2021 Full Year Poverty Statistics. Ang Philippine Statistics Authority ay nagpapasalamat sa inyong pakikilahok sa press conference na ito. Muli, magandang araw at mabuhay tayong lahat.
Maraming salamat po, Yusek Mapa, para sa ulat ng 2021 Full Year Official Poverty Statistics of the Philippines. Ngayon, atin naman pong pakinggan si Secretary Arsenio M. Balisacan para sa pahayag ng NEDA ukol sa 2021 Full Year Official Poverty Statistics of the Philippines.
Members of the media, colleagues in government, fellow Filipinos, good morning. In 2018, we achieved our goal of lifting 6 million Filipinos out of poverty, 4 years ahead of our 2022 target. Our prudent macroeconomic management and the enactment of various reforms that increase real income opportunities for Filipinos made this possible. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted our growth momentum and development trajectory. Recently, we have seen hopeful signs of recovery for our country. Last week, the Philippine Statistics Authority reported that our economy sustained its expansion in the second quarter of 2022, recording real GDP growth of 7.4%. Increased economic activities due to easing alert levels and tourism restrictions and accelerated vaccine rollout helped us achieve this growth. However, as also reported by PSA, the country's full year 2021 poverty incidence among the population significantly increased to 18.1% from 16.7% in 2018. This translates to 2.3 million more Filipinos being pushed into poverty from 2018 to 2021. This also means that the country's poverty incidence fell short of its 2021 target of 15.5 to 17.5%, as indicated in the updated Philippine Development Plan for 2017 to 2022. The effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, including income and employment losses, caused the poverty incidence to rise. Restrictions on mobility and low earning capacity of poor households due to limited access to regular and productive jobs made the lives of Filipinos difficult. We take these 2021 poverty statistics as our baseline. We do know that we have a tough road ahead, but we are already prepared to face these challenges head-on. The overall goal of the next Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028 is to reinvigorate job creation and poverty reduction. Our poverty reduction efforts will focus on three main areas. 1, full reopening of the economy. 2, more investment in human capital, social development, and social protection. And 3, transformation of the production sectors to generate more and quality jobs and competitive products. First, the full reopening of the economy. We need to fully reopen the economy to steer the country back on the high growth path. As indicated by the President during his first State of the Nation address, there will be no more lockdowns. We will support this policy with an aggressive campaign on vaccination and boosters and adopt science-based minimum public health standards. We will continue to improve our health system's capacity to respond to the threats of COVID-19, as well as other health threats. We hope that everyone will respond by getting themselves fully vaccinated and convincing all their children, relatives, and friends to do the same. We also hope that everyone will continue to be patient in complying with the minimum public health standards. Second, more investments in human capital and social development and social protection. This will serve three objectives. One, address the weaknesses in our service delivery of healthcare, nutrition, education, and social protection. Two, arrest the long-term scaring that COVID-19 has brought on our human capital. And three, enhance the capabilities of Filipinos to be economically productive and to weather and overcome any crisis. COVID-19 has revealed the weaknesses in our health, nutrition, education, and social protection systems, mainly with the rigidity of delivery modes. We, in coordination with stakeholders, including civil society, will address these weaknesses. On social protection, we will make full use of the national ID to modernize and rationalize our social protection system. Some may need legislation, like the establishment of the Centers for Disease Control and the Virology Institute of the Philippines, and education reform. Now is the time to begin undoing the damage that COVID-19 has inflicted on our students that may result in long-term productivity loss. We need to resume face-to-face classes. We have made sure that the COVID-19 vaccines for children are safe and widely accessible. We will continue to provide guidance on minimum public health standards and health risk assessments. We urge all schools to come up with innovative solutions to make studying in schools as safe as possible. Government has programs under TESDA, DTI, DOLE, and CHED, to name a few, that provide opportunities for Filipinos to enhance their skills for better quality employment. We will expand these programs in terms of coverage, content, and accessibility. We hope that the academia and research community can help enhance these programs and keep them updated. And we hope that more Filipinos will take advantage of this. And finally, the transformation of the production sectors so that they generate more and better quality job opportunities for Filipinos. At the same time, we want to see competitive products being produced in the Philippines, both for Philippine and international markets. Government will contribute to this transformation by easing the cost of doing business, including energy and transport, and providing greater support to R&D, technology development and adoption, and innovation. Inter-industry linkages will also be enhanced through physical and digital connectivity. Moreover, the government will be aggressive in promoting trade and attracting investments, taking off from the economic reforms enacted under the previous administration. We hope that the scientific community, business sector, and investors will journey with us through this transformation and continue to innovate in their respective industries. We can work together to modernize agriculture and agribusiness, following a farm-to-plate value chain, revitalize industry with a focus on manufacturing, and reinvigorate services, including tourism, creative, and business processing sectors. Given these strategies and our whole of society approach, we can reduce poverty incidence by 5 percentage points at midterm and another 4 percentage points by 2028. We aim to reduce poverty incidence among Filipinos to 9% by 2028. This COVID-19 pandemic may have disrupted our growth momentum, but we are determined. We remain committed to deliver adequate, prudent, and timely policies to achieve our collective aspirations where no Filipino is poor and where every Filipino enjoys a matatag, maginhawa at panatag na buhay. Thank you and a pleasant morning to all of you.
Maraming salamat po, Secretary Balisacan. Bago po natin simulan ng open forum, nais po naming paunlakan at pasalamatan ang lahat ng press at media partners na kasama po natin sa press briefing na ito. Para po sa maayos na pagsasagawa ng ating open forum, narito po ang ilang mga paalala. Para sa mga online participants, ang inyong mga press kits ay amin pong ipapadala via email. Maaari po ninyong gamitin ang raise hand feature ng Zoom kung nais po ninyong direktang magtanong sa ating mga resource persons. Kapag kayo po ay natawag ng host, pakisabi po muna ang inyong pangalan at organization bago po kayo magsabi ng inyong mga katanungan. Maaari rin po kayo magpadala ng tanong gamit ang chat kung saan ang host po ang magbabasa ng inyong tanong sa mga resource persons. Para naman po sa mga on-site participants, pakitaas po lamang inyong mga kamay kung kayo po ay may tanong at hintayin po na kayo ay ma-acknowledge. Kapag kayo po ay natawag, pakisabi po ang inyong pangalan at organization. Ang inyong mga press kits naman po ay ipapadala via email. Okay, so maraming salamat po. Ngayon, handa na po tayo sa open forum. Okay, we have a question sent from the Zoom chat. This is from Miss Eileen Mencias of Abante. What specific items are in the food bundle used in computing the food threshold given the latest inflation numbers? How much would the food threshold be now? I suppose this is for Yusek Mapa.
Okay, thank you very much. Yung mga kasama sa food bundle natin, ito ay kinumpute natin using the Family Income and Expenditure Survey kasi yung basihan ng ating poverty incidence ay yung FIES. So, yung food expenditure na kasama siya doon sa food bundle, can you go back to... Yeah, thank you. Is the actual food expenditure ng families within the plus or minus 10 percentile band of the subsistence poverty incidence. So, kumukuha kami nung grupo ng mga pamilya kung saan natin i-compute yung kanilang food expenditure. So ito yung plus or minus 10 percentage points from the subsistence incidence no, na na-compute natin kanina. So ito ay umaabot ng mga nasa 15%, parang bottom 15%. At doon natin kinukuha yung actual food expenditure. At yung total basic expenditure ng families naman ay ito ay aggregated kasama yung pagkain, clothing and footwear, fuel, light and water, housing, maintenance and other minor repairs, rental of occupied dwelling units at iba pa. So ito ay nanggagaling sa latest version ng Family Income and Expenditure Survey. At yung tanong mo kanina, yung ating food threshold para sa isang pamilya, for the full year, ito ay nag-average ng monthly, for family of 5, ito ay nag-average ng 8,379 pesos on the average per month at the national level. Or ang daily niya ay about 276 pesos. Yun yung food threshold. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek Mapa and Miss Eileen Mencias. Okay, we have a live question. Let's call on Mr. Ramon from philstar.com.
Hi, Ramon Rondon here from Philstar Online. Sir, I'd just like to ask kung doable pa po ba yung 15 to 17.5% target na poverty rate that the former Duterte administration set for this year, for 2022?
Yeah. 15 to
15 to 17.
17,
So we have
yeah.
18 already. So 2021.
Yeah, yeah. 20, that was 2021, and considering that that's for 2021, though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. For 2020.
So
full
that
year.
the actual is higher than what was targeted by the previous administration for 2021. So if you mean for 2022, the as we said, our baseline now is the new number, which is the 18.1%. No, so and we by midterm of this administration, we aim to reduce or to take away 5 percentage points out of that 18%, and another um, uh, 4 percentage points after that to reach 9 percentage point 9% 9% poverty incidence by 2028. So so if you interpolate that, I think that we should be given the recovery of the economy, the restoration of economic activities, we should be able to achieve our target for this year. It's quite a challenge because we did not anticipate that the early on. I mean, the previous administration did not anticipate the kind of inflation that we had today, but with the reorientation of our targeting system, for example, that we are ramping up our digitalization so that we can target our limited resources to the most deserving ones, achieving more with less resources, given the fiscal space. I think that we're on track.
Ramon, the next question is from Ms. Kai Ordinario of Business World. Business Mirror.
Okay. Hi, sir. Good morning po.
Good morning.
Sir, first question is, how will inflation, the recent spike in inflation, affect our thresholds? And would that significantly change the estimates that we can use for this year to measure poverty, if ever? And then also, if we're going to reach the 5 percentage points reduction in poverty by mid-term, how many people should we take out of poverty annually? Thank you.
We could do the math later and send you after this forum, but it should be easy to do that calculation. Since this incidence is expressed as a proportion of the population, so we need to know what the total population will be this year and next year and so on.
Secretary, just to add lang, of course, the inflation, as we've seen it, it will actually increase the poverty threshold. By the way, the next round of the Family Income and Expenditure Survey will be done next year for the 2023. So we will have a 2023 report because as approved by the Philippine Statistics Authority Board, official poverty statistics will be reported every 2 years. So we will be recomputing the poverty threshold for 2023, and given the increase in food inflation in particular, we expect that the poverty threshold will also increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, Yusek. Next question is from Mr. Michael Flores.
Good morning, Secretary. Michael Flores of Agence France Press. Sir, you mentioned, Secretary RC, you mentioned that the government plans to reduce the poverty incidence by 5 percentage points. But as Secretary Mapa mentioned, the poverty threshold is expected to increase because of inflation. From what interventions or what are you seeing that could actually, meet the government target, given how you mentioned how challenging inflation is to reducing poverty incidence?
Yeah, okay. First, as I mentioned before, no, the thrust of our strategy is of our government programs to go back to the high growth trajectory as fast as we can. That is that 6.5 to 8% rate of growth per year, no, for the duration of the administration. That's in real term, no, not in the nominal term. Yung sinasabi ni Yusek Mapa kanina na increase in the threshold, that's a nominal increase, no, in the threshold. Whereas itong growth na sinasabi natin na 6.5% to 8% is in real term, no, after adjusting for inflation. So that's one. Second is that we are changing the way our labor market respond to growth. That is that we are not just creating more jobs, but we intend to improve the quality of jobs by looking at those sectors that are that have high potentials for generating high quality jobs. For example, manufacturing, tourism, the high quality jobs in the services sectors, creative industries, and also improving the quality of growth in agriculture by increasing productivity, improving the way we spend our resources in agriculture. This time we will work toward improving the yield per hectare or profit per hectare indicators in the farm sector. That way we can reduce the pressure on prices for our population as well as for our industries, so that there do not have to be an upward pressure on wages just because food prices are rising. But we want those wages to rise because productivity in the entire economy is rising and the supply of labor is or the demand for labor is rising faster than the entry of more workers in the labor market. That's the game plan.
Sir, just a very quick follow-up. So you still expect, and given the interventions, that reducing poverty by 5 percentage points by 2025 is still feasible at this point, despite the inflation that we're seeing?
Yeah, it's very much feasible. In fact, I was so quite elated that the number 20 for 2018 is 18%. In our assumptions, when we were doing the exercise, that we were actually working on 20% poverty for 2021 based on the numbers that we were seeing in the first semester of 2021. This gives us the confidence that the number that we are projecting for that this administration are very much doable.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Secretary. Okay, let's entertain the question from Mr. Warren de Guzman of ABS-CBN News, sent via the Zoom chat. This is in relation to the inflation rate. What is the minimum inflation rate needed to help us achieve the midterm and full-term poverty incidence goals of the Marcos administration? And as a follow-up question po, do you expect the poverty incidence rate to have risen due to the elevated inflation this 2022? These questions are for Secretary Balisacan.
I do. Okay. For the first one, whether the elevated or the inflation that we are witnessing is going to reduce our ability to achieve the target, no? And what's the minimum inflation and the maximum inflation needed to achieve this target? We are projecting. We are aiming for the 2 to 4% inflation for the medium term. No? This for this year is slightly higher, but we expect to go back to the lower range in the coming years. So if we achieve those, then we should be able to get the poverty targets. But let me also note that in relation to the second point of the question, no, which is the
Do you expect the poverty incidence rate to have risen due to the elevated
okay, to the
inflation?
elevated, I I I'm quite confident that the poverty incidence in 2021 will be lower. We will not we won't have an official data because the official data will be for 2023 for 2023, no, 20 for once every 2 years survey. So but what we can do from other sources, we can use other sources, other indications to figure out what that likely poverty for 2021, 2022 will be, no? But we can say that given the opening up of the economy, greater opening up of the economy in 2022, more the reduction in the unemployment numbers and underemployment numbers in 2022, it's likely that the poverty incidence would be lower despite the uptick in the inflation, even more so as we try to reduce the burden of that high prices on the poor by targeting our cash transfers programs or 4-piece program to the most deserving members of our population. So those interventions should temper the effects of the inflation on the poor, at least on the very poor.
Thank you, Secretary. Okay, let's call on Mr. Ben De Vera.
Secretary Balisacan, good morning.
Good morning.
Since we're talking about inflation, I'm wondering if you mentioned you mainly attributed the higher 2021 poverty rate to the pandemic-induced losses in jobs and incomes. But how about inflation last year? Because it was already rising, remember? And as mapa, because of food,
Yeah.
because of the African swine fever, and was inflation as early as last year impacting on poverty reduction, or did it increase poverty last year as well?
I think that the poverty could have been the effects of the inflation last year could have negative effects on poverty. Yet what we saw in the data is that the income inequality actually declined. Income inequality actually declined. So it appears that the opening up of the economy that started in last year, particularly in the second half of the year, appeared to have favorably affected the low-income groups. So that's quite interesting. That despite what we were saying before, that the pandemic could have exacerbated prevailing inequalities, the income inequality did not increase. No? Although the inequalities in other dimensions of welfare are expected to have deteriorated, less access to education, to health, to connectivity, and so on. No?
Sir, perhaps that would also explain why the first half was 23.7 and then it dropped to 18.1 in
Yes.
the second half.
I think the second half of the year 2021 reflected a much greater economic opening for our population. And
Sir, NSWAPO, do you already have data like in previous years if it's these on the sectoral basis, like are the farmers, the fisher folks, and the rural, those living in rural areas, still the ones who are the poorest?
Okay,
And if they increase.
the poverty estimates for the basic sectors that we will report, it will actually follow because we need to identify the particular sector as you mentioned, no? But of course, in the past, the sectors wherein you have a high poverty incidence are the farmers and the fisher folks. But we will have an official data from the 2021 in the coming months. Just to add the context in the discussion, I am looking now the sources of income, no, because we also reported this morning the Family Income and Expenditure Survey. And of course, when you look at poverty reduction, it's always two sides. One is the increase in the poverty threshold caused by inflation, but the other one is also the increase in income. If you'll notice, from 2015 to 2018, we also saw increase in poverty threshold. In fact, it's higher, but there was a higher increase in household income, no? So it, in a way, surpassed the increase in the poverty threshold. But we didn't see it, as I mentioned, we didn't see it this 2021 versus 2018. By sources of income, I'd just like to highlight those that dropped. We had a decrease from 2018 to 2021 on source of income from entrepreneurial activities. So there was a reduction of about 133 billion pesos from the households. The biggest one is really from cash receipts from abroad, because of course we have a reduced number of overseas Filipino workers. Cash receipts from abroad reduced by 162 billion from 2018 to 2021. So these are actually the two major sources of reduction in the household income. I'd like to highlight also that there was an increase in cash receipts from domestic sources, including cash transfers from government. So this increased from about 380 billion in 2018 to about 428 billion in 2021. But as I mentioned, the two sources of income that was really hit are the entrepreneurial activities, 133 billion reduction, and cash receipts from abroad, 162 billion reduction. Thank you.
Thank you. And speaking of the FIES, the last question will be the data showing that, of course, the average income decreased by 2%, but spending decreased by a faster 4.1%. Is this a phenomenon during hard times that Filipino would scrimp on, spending to cope? Did it happen in the past, in past crises, perhaps that, there would be a larger reduction in spending if your incomes are getting lower? Thank you.
yeah, I suppose those are in nominal, no? In reduction in nominal. That's yeah. So I suppose the effects of the prices, but it's quite what you would expect, no? That what conceptually at least, no? What during crisis you would expect that expenditures will decline less than the decline in income, because there are consumption smoothing activities taking place. No, you are using your savings to cover for your expenditures, or you're borrowing, or you're receiving remittances. That we see a lot in the household surveys. No, that the low income households, whenever they suffer shocks, get a lot of income transfers, inter-household income transfers, no? But this is for the entire population, the data that you are seeing here, no? That the expenditure declined at a faster rate, no? Tama, no? At a faster rate than the decline in income, which could mean that there was inflation, but still expenditure declined, so that they could spending in terms of volume or quantity could have suffered. So, so possibly travels, for example, were postponed. Going to the malls were made less frequent. So all this kind of spending decline, especially that perhaps not that there's uncertainty about the duration of the pandemic. So you would not, you would really want to, households would be expected to, to be very cautious about their spending patterns during the pandemic.
Thank you, Secretary. Okay, nais po namin ipabatid sa ating mga media partners na meron na lamang po tayong natitirang ilang minuto para sa press briefing na ito. Kung kaya't we can only accommodate siguro 3 tanong na lamang po. Sa mga katanungan pong hindi ma-accommodate, you may send them to us via email or Zoom chat. Okay, let's call on Mr. Michael Flores.
Yusek Mapa, would you characterize the 3.8% mean per capita income growth from 2018 to 21 as quite unusual compared to the ones we've seen in the past because of the pandemic? And how would that compare to the average per capita income growth that we've been seeing in the past?
Okay, the last 3 rounds of the survey, we are seeing that the 3.8% increase in 3 years for all income is really low. And to mention that between 2015 2018, this is about 21%. So this is low, as I mentioned, because the sources of income, there were really big drops in source of income, particularly entrepreneurial activities and cash receipts from abroad from our OFW. So this is of course the impact of the pandemic, and with, as mentioned by the Secretary, with the current numbers showing up from other indicators like the labor force survey, our deployment, we should be seeing increases in this particular 2 areas I mentioned.
Thank you, Yusek. Okay, for our next question, we have the gentleman at the back.
Hi, hello, good morning. Chino Leico, Manila Bulletin. Sir, is there a way to measure kung how many Filipinos were pushed into poverty by the pandemic?
If you want to count, for example, because the FIES is, as I mentioned early, this is a sample. You have a large sample, but this is not really a census. But our estimate is that the percentage, without the pandemic, of course, this will be this is a problem for researchers and members of the academic community to do simulation. What happened if there's no pandemic? The trajectory, as mentioned by the Secretary, is that it is between 15 to 17% of population. I understand the early before it was changed is about 14%. No, so you can see that based on the pre-pandemic trajectory, there was already an increase. If we look at 18.1% of population, there's an increase of about 4.1 percentage point from the original base. But this will be studied once the unit data will be available, which the PSA will share to the general public.
And related to the goal of bringing down the poverty rate to single digit by 2028, what's the ano yung pinactor in nyo na population growth to hit that single digit territory by 2028? Because I think right now it's about 1.6%. So if we compute it by 2028, there will be another, the population will grow by 9 million by 2028. So what's the ideal population growth rate to attain our single digit poverty rate by 2028?
Yeah, we use the rate of population growth as published by the PSA. Of course, the last census is 2020, 2020 census, and from there it's extrapolated to all the way to 2028. And I forgot what the 1.7 or 1 point, I don't know, population growth. 1.6.
1.6.
1.6.
annual population growth is about 1.63% from 2015 to 2020. But we will have another census in 2025, the mid-decade, as part of the initiative of the Philippine Statistics Authority. So we will be using actually a recent census when we calibrate again the target in 2028.
Thank you, Secretary, and thank you po.
Actually, just related to that, no, because I see some positive things in this population. Because if you look at the working age population now, that one is growing faster now than the overall population, which means that we have a potential demographic dividend, no? Meaning, we can grow faster by simply with the mere fact that our working age population is growing faster than the overall population. And in many countries around us, that kind of demographic dividend lasted them for 2 to 3 decades, no? So if we make full use of this opportunity, we can grow faster. The trick there is to make those workers productive, by appropriate interventions in health and education in particular, and in training.
Okay. Thank you, Secretary, and thank you po, Yusek. So, our apologies. That's all the time that we have. Nais po naming pasalamatan ang ating mga resource persons, si Secretary Arsenio M. Balisacan ng National Economic and Development Authority at si National Statistician and Civil Registrar General Undersecretary Dennis S. Mapa ng Philippine Statistics Authority. Maraming salamat din po sa mga opisyal ng NEDA at PSA na kasama natin ngayon. Gayon din po sa ating mga media partners na nakilahok sa press conference na ito ng Philippine Statistics Authority para sa 2021 Full Year Official Poverty Statistics of the Philippines ngayong ika-15 ng Agosto taong 2022. Sana po ay patuloy ninyong suportahan ang PSA. Maari po ninyong bisitahin ang aming website sa www.psa.gov.ph for more updates. Muli, ako po si Ange Cardo. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you once again.
Mahirap ba ako? O hindi? Ano ang ibig sabihin ng pagiging mahirap sa Pilipinas? Sino nga ba ang maituturing na mahirap? Ayon sa Republic Act 8425 or Social Reform and Poverty Alleviation Act, maituturing na mahirap ang isang individual o pamilya kung ang kanilang kabuuang kita ay mas mababa sa isang sukatan o poverty threshold na itinatalaga ng gobyerno. Ang threshold ang pamantayan ng pagsukat ng bilang ng mahihirap. May dalawang klase ng threshold sa pagtukoy ng mahihirap. Una, ang food threshold na tumutukoy sa minimum na kita o kinakailangang halaga ng isang individual o pamilya upang matugunan ang mga pangunahing pangangailangan sa pagkain o basic food requirements. Ikalawa, ang poverty threshold na minimum na kita na kailangan ng isang individual o pamilya upang matugunan ang mga pangunahing pangangailangan sa pagkain at iba pang mga pangunahing pangangailangan katulad ng pang-edukasyon, pangkalusugan, tirahan, ilaw at tubig, damit at sapin sa paa at iba pa. Paano nako-compute ang bilang ng mahihirap? Una, pagkalap ng mga kinakailangan datos katulad ng kita ng pamilya, food bundle at presyo ng pangunahing pagkain. Ang food bundle ay set na mga pagkain sa bawat probinsya na nakabatay sa isang National Reference Food Bundle ay dinisenyo ng Food and Nutrition Research Institute o FNRI. Ito ay binubuo ng mga pagkain na pinakamurang nabibili at kinakain sa lalawigan at tumutugon sa 100% na pangangailangan sa enerhiya at protina at 80% para sa iba pang mga nutrisyon. Ang bawat pagkain sa food bundle ay nilalagyan ng katumbas na halaga gamit ang mga datos sa presyo na kinakalap ng PSA bawat buwan. Ang kita ng pamilya ay nanggagaling sa resulta ng Family Income and Expenditure Survey o FIES. Ito ay isang sample survey na isinasagawa ng PSA kada 3 taon na naglalayong makapagbigay ng impormasyon sa kita at gastos ng pamilya. Ikalawa, ang pag-compute ng halaga ng food threshold. Ang bawat panlalawikong food bundle ay nakabase sa isang national reference na food bundle na may almusal, tanghalian, hapunan at merienda. Tinitiyak na ang food bundle ay binubuo ng mga pagkain may pinakamababang halaga at kinakain sa lalawigan. Ang bawat food bundle ay dapat na merong energy, protein, calcium, iron, vitamin A, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin at vitamin C. Halimbawa ng food bundle sa Metro Manila na nakabase sa National Reference Food Bundle, ang almusal ay binubuo ng scrambled egg, kanin at kape na may gatas. Sa tanghalian, mayroon namang nilagang munggo na may dilis at malunggay, kanin at saging na lutundan. Samantalang sa hapunan naman ay pritong tulingan, kanin at nilagang angkong at may meriendang pandesal. Ikatlo, ang pag-compute ng poverty threshold. Bahagi ng pag-compute nito ay ang pagkuha ng non-food component. Ito ay sa pamamagitan ng pagtingin sa consumption pattern ng mga pamilyang malapit sa food threshold. Ito ay didirektang pag-compute na ginagawa di lamang ng Pilipinas kundi maging ibang bansa. Ito rin ay tinatawag na food expenditure over total basic expenditure, ratio na may average na 0.6983 mula sa resulta ng FIES noong 2000, 2003, 2006 at 2009. Ang poverty threshold ay makukuha sa pagdi-divide ng food threshold sa FETBE ratio. Panghuli, ang pagbilang sa mga individual o pamilya na may kita na bababa sa mga thresholds. Kapag mas mababa sa food threshold, sila ay maisasama sa bilang ng food poor o walang kakayahan para makabili ng basic food needs. Samantalang, kapag mas mababa sa poverty threshold, sila ay maisasama sa bilang ng poor o walang kakayahan para makabili ng basic food at non-food na pangangailangan. Tandaan, ang pag-alam ng konsepto ng datos ay nakatutulong upang tama ang paggamit at interpretasyon sa datos, upang tama ang maiuulat at upang tama ang programa at polisiya.